Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of R&D Garage. I want to give a warm welcome to all my new subscribers, as well as those who have joined along on my car journey. Welcome. Okay, you guys know that I went out last Wednesday for the second performance driving class at Sonoma Raceway and had an absolute blast. Got a ton of great feedback from you guys, both on here and on Instagram and Facebook, and yeah, I hope to bring you more videos like that very, very soon. But now that she's here resting in her little warehouse, we have to do kind of a post-race recovery day on her. She spent upwards of 6 or 7 hours higher than 6,000 RPM, which isn't really the best thing you want to do to your car, but you know, as she's race prepped and everything, even though she's race prepped, we still have to put her in recovery mode. Do an oil change, check to see that nothing quite melted under the hood, check the tires, check everything else, just to make sure that she's gonna be fine come this Wednesday when I take her drag racing again. So I'm gonna put together a little checklist and show you guys what needs to be done. Okay, so you're going along, you're enjoying your race day, the temperature gauge in your car is totally at normal, but still. Between sessions, it's always a good idea to pop your hood just to make sure that everything under the hood is copacetic with what the temperature gauge says. Because sometimes it can be a totally different story when you pop your hood and all of a sudden you have spatter marks. So 3 things to check for now once you pop your hood. The clutch fluid, the brake fluid, make sure nothing's weeping out of here. Do not touch the radiator cap because it's going to be boiling hot. Check your oil and just do kind of a quick visual check to make sure maybe none of the wires have melted, that there's no spatter. And speaking of spatter, we have some right about here. So I'm just going to zoom in right now. So this basically is what we're going to investigate today among doing other things. So again, this spatter I'm guessing might be from the overflow bottle because the car, I mean, obviously, once you pop your hood at the racetrack, you're going to see how hot it really is. And Sonoma Raceway literally doesn't matter what time of day it is always boiling, boiling hot. Until about 6:30 or so, and then it's like ice cold. But the whole time I was there on Wednesday, it was about 90, 95 degrees. So this can be super hard on the car, as well as pushing it on the track. So things to be careful for. Now I'm running Gsr brakes on all 4 corners, and slightly, little bit more aggressive pads. So they're not fully race prepped as maybe another complete race car as far as brakes, but the car is so light that the brakes really held up very well. So even though they did, I'm gonna go ahead and top off the brake fluid just a little bit more. I'm gonna bleed through all 4 sides, again, just to get some fresh brake fluid down in there, just to kind of, you know, clean it up a bit. And then we'll probably move on to either an oil change or again, investigating the splatter. Okay, so something I've noticed, my clutch master cylinder and the reservoir have been weeping for quite some time. Now, this isn't stock to the hatchback. It didn't come with this. We replaced it years ago, but I'm thinking it's time to replace again because you can see out of the reservoir here, we're starting to get some weeping, and I kind of want to bite the bullet and just replace it before all hell breaks loose, at least with this. So this isn't going to happen today. I've got the part on order. When it does, I'm going to gladly show you guys how that goes on. Some things you guys may not know about track life. The track, even though they do their best to keep it clean, is littered with bits of rubber, lots of rubber actually from other cars, and due to the track being so hot, debris, gravel, anything you can think of, it's going to be on that track. And so a lot of people, when they go to their first track meet, have no idea that their car is going to be pelted with lots of basically little rubber bullets, almost, I want to say. There are spots well, actually, that wasn't rubber. That was just dirt. But there are spots all over this car where I've had to clean off rubber marks. Sometimes you can definitely hear it. One guy, I'm not going to say what car he was driving, but he actually thought his tires were shredding because there was so much noise in his wheel wells, and he saw stuff being flung up and he panicked. But no, this is just all normal part of track life. And you can see I've just got some chewed up tires here because the bits of rubber melted and reformed on my tire. Something to watch out for. So if you're taking your car and it's not vinyl wrapped and it's just pure paint, just be aware that you may have some paint damage from the rubber. It may take you a lot of time to clean it off, and it's just something that we've all come to expect that, yes, this is going to happen. Okay, so it's super important that you monitor your tires during the day, all of which I just explained in the last little clip, but now we're going to delve a little bit deeper. So you'll notice this almost looks like it has kind of a dry lake bed look to it. This is perfectly normal. It looks weird and it looks like you may have damaged your tires, but I promise you, you didn't. This is just part of the track and the way the car goes on the tires, you know, when you're slamming from side to side through the chicane and all that kind of thing. So we've got that. We've also got, obviously, the melted rubber bits right here. And we're going to take pictures of this as well so you can kind of mix and match and see what your car is doing. But also some things to watch out for. You may be underinflated if you get a little bit of rolling or excessive tire wear on the edge. You don't want that. So definitely bring your air compressor along. If you don't have one, usually there is one there someone else brought, and people are usually pretty happy and friendly to lend you tools at the track. That's never been an issue. So something to watch out for there. You want to make sure there's not excessive wear on the other end of the tire, or if maybe some bubbling happens, or just be really get a good sense of where your tires are. After every track session, make it a good rule of thumb to just kind of check out your whole car, but definitely what's keeping the rubber side down. Okay, so now that we're done talking about tires, this is a good time to check the rotors and brakes and pads and all that. So if you have an open style wheel like mine, this makes it super easy. Looking at all of this, obviously you want to make sure that your pads aren't completely worn, that your rotors don't have any weird surfaces, like it looks like you could kind of catch a fingernail on one. Again, do not actually touch your brakes or rotors or anything like that because they're going to be super duper hot. But it's a good time to inspect. Make sure there's no fluid there. That would be very bad. No excessive dirt or debris. And you're going to want to do this on all four corners, not obviously just one. So again, if you have an open style rim, I highly, or even if you're starting to track your car more and more, you kind of want to make things easy on yourself. So I would almost recommend, if you're going with a light rim anyway, do an open style because it just makes life easier at the track. Okay guys, now I loved a slammed import car as much as you do, but you do not want to be slammed on your suspension at the track because the next thing we're going to check for is rubbing. Now, I'm wrapped here, obviously, and so it'd be very easy for me to see the height clearance and to see that if I've been rubbing at all, which you don't want. This is particularly important in front here because obviously she's a front wheel drive. And so if she's gonna rub, it would most likely happen up there. And also, inner fender liners have a tendency to melt at high temperatures. And so that's another good thing to check at the front of the car, or, you know, even at the rear, to make sure that nothing is breaking, nothing is sticking to your tires aren't rubbing against anything, and then we can move on. So here's a good example of what the rubber flying off and hitting your car looks like. And it's a bear to get off. Most of the time I leave them on because I almost think of them as little tiny trophies by now, and I think it looks cool. But on your car, you know, if it's painted or whatever, you probably maybe won't like it as much, and that's okay. Get yourself some heavy duty cleaner and you can take care of that. But yes, this is what your car is gonna look like at the end of the day. So while checking my front tires, I noticed I do actually have a rub spot. You can tell like this, it looks kind of chewed. So I'm going to go ahead, replace this clip right here, and bump up the suspension just a teeny tiny bit so that won't happen next time. Okay guys, well, we're under the car doing a little more inspection, but before I get into that, I want to say that I checked the passenger side front and there's even more signs of rubbing there. So this isn't good, and we're definitely bumping up the front suspension just a little bit so that doesn't happen again. Okay, moving on. So now that we have the car jacked up on the lift here, and this is also totally easy for you guys to do just with a jack and a couple of jack stands at home, so you don't need a lift to do this. Okay, you other import guys with the Moroso oil pan know that this pan is notorious for leaking, which sucks. But we here at R&D have kind of dialed this pan in along the way so that there's only a little bit of weeping. There's no actual drips, which is good, that you do not want drips coming out of your oil pan, but a little bit of haze is fine and totally normal with these. But if you don't have a Moroso oil pan, it's just another thing to check. Okay, so we're also checking underneath. We're checking the CV booties to make sure that they're still in good shape. And so I just kind of like to squeeze them, also because they're fun to squeeze. But these guys look good. We're checking for weeping near maybe the tranny to make sure there's no coolant. There's a couple little blue dots, but I'm not real concerned. It's not like a spattering, so that looks good. Yeah, so basically just kind of check under here to make sure everything is firmly still connected, no actual drips again, like I said, maybe no rubber besides what's left on the tires, and then you can move on. Couple more things. So you also want to make sure that your traction bars are okay. So we have hind joints on these, and they should still, yes, be able to move just like that. And again, on the other side, this is a little bit filmy because it's so close to the oil pan. So got some of the weepiness there, but that looks good. You also want to check your bushings on the end links here. Make sure they're not like ripped up. These are all pretty good looking. Right there and there. So yeah, so I think now we can move on. Looks good underneath here. Okay, one more thing, guys. If you have an aftermarket shifter linkage, those are prone to moving around and maybe even coming apart. Not good. So like this guy right here, we ended up putting 2 nuts on the end, and that seems to have solved our issue right here. So it's something you may want to think about, just like little solutions for issues such as this. You know, maybe put it in your phone notepad or something, just as a little reminder, oh yeah, if I'm going to track my car, I probably want to come up with a solution myself. Now that the inside of the wheels are easier to see, this is also a good time to check the brake lines. So basically, I'm talking about the braided brake lines. Make sure they're still in a spot where there's not going to be any rubbing whatsoever, or they haven't been rubbed upon. Super important. You can also now check the barrel of the wheel a lot easier, and so you can see if there's any sign of brake fluid, any sign of any type of fluid whatsoever. And again, check over here with the braided brake lines to make sure it's still in the right spot. But to be honest, these are looking pretty good. I mean, obviously we have rub issues, but the brake lines themselves are awesome and they haven't moved. So yay. Okay, so let's talk a moment about adjustable suspension. If you're anything like me and you drive an import race car, you probably have the same kind of setup. And anything that's adjustable has room for, well, I hate to say failure, but it definitely has room for parts to move around or jam nuts or anything like that to fall off. So that's another good thing to check while you're under here is the suspension. When you first put on the suspension, I think it's also a really good idea to mark where exactly it is with an indelible black pen, just so you can see if it does move in the future while you're at the track, you can be certain, oh yeah, my adjustable suspension decided to adjust itself. And that way you can go back and correct it once you're off the track again. Let's talk about radiators. Okay, so you remember how I was talking about those little rubber bullets? Those can crush fins like nobody's business. Also a moth while you're going 100 miles per hour, perhaps a wayward grasshopper. These are all not good things. And if you drive a bright yellow car, bees. Bees! So anyway, anything rushing at your car at more than 100 miles per hour is probably going to damage the radiator a little bit. So what you want to do is check it out, make sure the fins are still straight, maybe get a little pick to help you straighten them out a little bit more if you did happen to hit something or if something hit you, and just go from there. But again, be very careful when you're working on your radiator, because the last thing you need is to whoopsie, and then all of a sudden there's like a whole stack of smashed fins, because I don't know about you guys, but I don't really want to replace anything else on her right now. So yeah. Well guys, thanks for joining me on this prep recovery of the Civic hatchback from racing last Wednesday. I hope this helps a lot of you. It always helps to kind of do a checklist over with your car when you're done with the heavy duty racing, and then go from there so you're ready that much better for next time. At any rate, thanks so much for watching this R&D Garage video. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share my videos. I'm so grateful for all of you. So we're gonna go ahead, plan another video as soon as possible. I just posted a poll to see what you guys would like to see next. Yes, I know FJ is probably gonna make top of the list, and we are working on it. There are parts coming, and we have a camping trip at the end of this month that I'm gonna film. So super exciting stuff on the way. So have a great Sunday, happy Mother's Day, take care, and I'll see you soon.